Alright guys, for today's lesson we're going to be talking about how do we divide polynomials, and we're going to be looking at something called synthetic division. Now with synthetic division, it's a process that we use to divide polynomials. So say for example I wanted you to divide this cubic polynomial, so it's x cubed minus 2x squared minus 8x minus 35, divided by this linear binomial, x minus 5. Whenever we do synthetic division, first thing I want you to do is draw a half box and then a horizontal line. And what we're going to do is, inside of that half box, we're going to circle that term in the linear binomial, negative 5, but just remember that you always are going to put the opposite inside that little half box. So the opposite of negative 5, you're going to put a positive 5 inside that box. Alright, and then we're going to look at the coefficient of my cubic polynomial, understood coefficient of 1. So I'm going to do 1, negative 2, negative 8, and negative 35. Notice I'm just worried about the numbers, not any of the variables. Well, here's the process for synthetic division. You always bring down the first term. So I bring down the 1, and then we're going to multiply what we bring down by what's in the box. So 1 times 5 is 5. Then we're going to add negative 2 plus 5, so that gives me 3. Multiply 3 by what's in the box, that'll be 15. Negative 8 plus 15, that's going to give me 7. Multiply by what's in the box, 7 times 5, so that'll give me 35. And then negative 35 plus 35 gives me 0. The last number is always going to be our remainder. So this has a remainder of 0. Just like if you were to have 8 going into 42, 8 goes into 42 5 times, it leaves a remainder of 2. This one doesn't have a remainder. Now my answer is always 1 degree less than the original problem. And since this has a degree 3, my answer is going to be 1 degree less, so it'll be degree 2. So my answer is going to be 1x squared plus 3x to the first plus 7x to the 0 with no remainder. And then just remember guys, you don't have to put an exponent of 1, and you don't have to put x to the 0th power, because that's understood to be 1. So this would be my answer for this problem. 1x squared plus 3x plus 7, which we would call as a quadratic trinomial. Alright, let's take a look at another one. For this one, again, draw a half box and a horizontal line. This is a quadratic trinomial, and this is a linear binomial. Remember, the binomial is what goes in the half box, but always do the opposite. So instead of a negative 2, you're going to put a 2 inside the box. Now look at your coefficients. Your coefficients are 3, negative 11, and 9. And so always remember with synthetic division, you bring down the first number, and then you multiply by what's in the box. So 3 times 2 is 6. So negative 11 plus 6 is negative 5. And then negative 5 times 2 would be negative 10. And then 9 minus 10 would be negative 1. The last number is always your remainder. So this has a remainder of negative 1. The way I write my answer, your answer is always 1 degree less than what you started with. So my answer would be 3x to the first, negative 5x to the 0, with a remainder of negative 1. And the way that we write a remainder is put the remainder in the numerator and the binomial in the denominator. Now remember, you don't have to put a power of 1, so you can write this as just 3x, and you don't have to put x to the 0th power because that's understood to be 1. So you can just write this as 3x minus 5 with a remainder of negative 1 over x minus 2. And that would be my answer for that problem. Let's look at 2 more. Here's the next one. Again, half box, horizontal line. The linear binomial goes in the box, but do the opposite. So what's going to go inside the box is negative 2. Next, put your coefficients. So 1, 5, 5, negative 2. Synthetic division, always bring down the first number, so that would be 1. Then multiply by what's in the box, so that would be negative 2. Add, that would be 3. Multiply, that would be negative 6. Add, that would be negative 1. Multiply, that would be 2. Add, that would give you 0. And so this one has a remainder of 0. And then my answer is always 1 degree less, so I'm going to have 1x squared plus 3x to the first minus 1x to the 0. But again, you don't have to have a power of 1 on the exponent, and then you don't have to put x to the 0. It's understood to be 1. And so there's my answer. Alright, for the last one, sometimes, if you remember in elementary school, if you have 10 divided by 2, that's the same thing as 5. If you have 10 over 2, that's also 5. So this symbol represents division. So if you have a problem that looks like this, just know that this symbol stands for division. So here's my linear binomial. So it's going to go inside the box, but do the opposite, so it's going to be negative 2. Then take your coefficients. So 1, 4, 3, and negative 2. With synthetic division, always bring down the first term, then multiply by what's in the box, so that'll give me negative 2, subtract, that'll give me 2, multiply, that'll give me negative 4, combine those, that'll give me negative 1, multiply, that'll give me 2, add them, I get 0, which the last number is always the remainder, so it has a remainder of 0, and then my answer is always 1 degree less than the original problem, so my answer will be 1x squared plus 2x to the first minus 1x to the 0 with a remainder of 0. But just remember, you don't have to put a 1 for the exponent, and you don't have to put x to the 0 power, because it's understood to be 1. And then that's it for today's lesson.